Hello and welcome to HyzerMedia's coverage of the Awesome Open 2022. We're here at round one at Jordan Creek. This tournament is run by BS Upshot, and they also are supporting our coverage. And thank you to our Patreon family. Without you, our coverage will also not be possible. I'm Dave Oster, here with Devin Frederick. We're going to be bringing you the commentary for both rounds of this tournament. And our feature card is starting off with Blake Kelly, followed by Curtis Toews, good local players to the area. One of the commentators in this booth, Devin Frederick, so we'll get a good insight from him. And none other than Bradley Be Good. So we're going to get started right into hole one. Devin, what do we got?
Hole one is a par 3, 331. Pretty much a dead straight shot down this gap we were flying down now. We have a creek on our left, which is OB, and this hole's actually got a pretty good backstop behind it, so you can be a little aggressive on this hole.
Pretty good hole for these players to start off on. Do want to thank Disc Insanity for sponsoring our drone coverage on this first round. So Blake Kelly's going to get us started. Going down the left side. Looks like he probably wanted that to flip a little bit more, but he gets a good kick, stays inbounds.
Yes, that was definitely a good tree. There's a good possibility that was heading into the creek.
Curtis taking the wider part of the fairway, using every bit of it, but comes back and flashes the chains a little bit. That'll be inside the circle, and here you are. What are you throwing here on the first hole?
I go with T-Bird. Like I said, it's got that backstop back there, so I'm really not afraid of going too far, so I club up and try and take a little bit off of it, only throwing like 70%, trying to keep it down the fairway.
Under 20-foot putt for birdie to start off.
It's kind of what I was looking for. And I believe that was Bradley's Mako. So it just stood up and drifted a little bit to the right and caught those trees.
Yep, and luckily still pushed forwards. Blake giving a long bid, not quite high enough. Now Bradley trying to get a little bit higher and a little bit too high. So somewhere in between, and Curtis does just that, starting off the round pretty well.
That's a good putt to start off the round with.
Yeah, good confidence booster, and you're just a step or two inside of him. And also starting off with a birdie.
I always feel like holes 1 and 2 are must-gets. There's some of the easier ones, and definitely want to get your rounds off. Started off good with these 2 holes.
Yep, and like we mentioned, we're at Jordan Creek. Our second round that will be coming out tomorrow will be at South Mountain. So across town, both rounds were played in one day. We posted them on 2 separate days. So, Devin, what have we got for hole 2?
Hole 2 is another par 3, 272 feet. There's 2 fairways you can go. The one that the drone's flying down now, a little left to right throw, where there's actually a gap to the right. You can throw a hyzer shot to it. And path long OB, which doesn't come into play very often.
Looks like there's a little bit of that backstop. Oh, and Curtis catching the early tree. Luckily,
yeah, that was
short enough that he should still be able to get up and down, right?
Yeah, this hole's easy enough. He should be able to scramble and get his way back to par.
And you coming in basket height, almost bringing up the ace on hole 2.
And I believe Blake's going to show us the hyzer route here. Gets it out probably a little wider than he wanted to, but comes back in and pinches himself up against the rocks a little bit, but it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, again, using every bit of that fairway, just kind of catching a little bit of cabbage on the outside, but should still have a pretty easy putt. Bradley going a little bit of a flex forehand, and that will work.
Yeah, you got to love them tap-ins.
So Curtis a little bit off the fairway. Like we said, pretty short holes, so should be able to keep it going, but he goes a little bit long up on those rocks.
He's still well within inside the circle, so he shouldn't have a problem with that either.
Yeah, we have had Curtis on coverage before, and if there's nothing else that he is good at, which he's good at many things, but putting is certainly one of the things that he excels in. and he makes good on it.
Yeah, he's a quick player, so he steps up and he puts it in or he throws it down the fairway. He does what he has to do real quick.
And 2 for 2 for the start of the tournament for you. Got to be a pretty good feeling. Like you said, you really want to get both of these.
Yeah, you definitely want to get both of these. They're definitely some of the easier holes on the course, and it's a little nerve-wracking starting on them because you're not quite warmed up yet, but we got them.
Yep, that's good. So everybody's on the board as we move over to hole 3, par 3, 339. Forehand or backhand turnover for the righties. Pretty much just got to get down the fairway and not too long. The bush line there is out of bounds if you do go too far. You have the tee.
And here I'm going with the same T-bird I threw on hole 1. Just trying to put a little Anheuser on it and let it drift over towards the basket.
And it looks pretty good. Probably edge of circle, maybe a couple steps inside.
I believe this is a T-bird out of Blake here as well.
Doesn't get it quite turned over as much as you did, but he'll maybe be circle 2, have a long look at it if that tree isn't obstructing him too much. Forehand look from Bradley.
A little bit short, so he'll have a long jump putt from there.
Yeah, certainly not so far that he couldn't have powered it all the way there, but maybe just thought he worried about going a little bit too far for that out of bounds line.
That's
Curtis.
a great shot out of Curtis. I believe that's his boss. You'll see a lot of that out of him in this round. Ooh, good bid by Bradley.
It looks like does have an open line to it, just a bit low. A downhill putt sometimes is hard to get the distance and the height right. A little off than what you're usually trying to putt at, and you're just a bit high. A couple inches from starting 3 for 3.
Yeah, it still felt good. I'd rather miss high given the chance than miss low, so I'm all right with
to
that.
the putt. Now these 3 guys pretty much all at the same distance. Gonna tap in for their pars. After Curtis gets the only birdie on hole 3.
So here we have hole 4, another par 3, 301. Another one you're just trying to throw pretty much dead straight and have it tail off a little at the end. Pretty much hit the window and get up there. Try and make your putt. It's pretty another simple hole. The start of this course is very attackable.
Yeah, I would say a lot of these holes are probably pretty much birdie or die, especially for you guys at the top, really trying to push for that lead. And most of you have gotten at least 1 or 2 out of the first 3, so you're right on pace. You're just a bit too wide hitting that birch tree. But again, it's fairly short hole, so you should have no problem getting up and down from there.
Yeah, it still feels like a bogey sometimes on some of these shorter holes. You definitely want to at least give yourself an opportunity to make a putt.
Right, absolutely.
Bradley throwing a really nice looking shot. Little tight.
He was throwing the Toro all around. I believe that was what was there as well. Is that correct?
I believe so. He did throw the Toro a lot this round. It was fun to watch him throw that. He's doing some fun things with it.
Yeah, and that was a pretty good upshot on the knee, leaning out. Oh, Bradley hitting the band and dropping down. Not the common result when you hit the band, but I'm sure he will take that one.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually surprised to see that drop in there myself.
Sometimes you see that in a tailwind, but there really wasn't too much wind to speak about for this round.
Yeah, the conditions were pretty good for this first round. especially in the front nine. The back nine has started to get a little warm and humid, but conditions were great.
So you are able to save the par. Not too bad after tee shot, and we will move over to hole 5 in the first par 4, 420 feet. Throwing down this tunnel, mandatory to the right, keeping you from throwing straight down the path. Basically got to hit this landing zone where you'll be looking at the basket. Maybe another 200, 250 feet across the opening, and basket is just tucked into these woods here. Thanks again to Disc Insanity for sponsoring our drone coverage for this round.
As you can kind of see from where Curtis threw from, we had a temporary tee pad for the time being. This is a new hole to the Jordan Creek course, and they haven't got to pour the new tee pad yet. So we're teeing from a walking path, and good, fun new par 4. I like it.
Yeah, it seemed like a very interesting hole. Obviously, we saw the first couple were fairly pitch and putt par 3s, but this definitely is going to challenge your distance and your accuracy with this tunnel shot.
Yeah, you should be able to break this down into 2 pretty routine, about 200-foot shots, but definitely easy to get away from you, as you can see by my shot.
Yeah, and you'll see if you don't make that corner, you really do not have much option to do what you did. It's just pitch around the corner and take your lumps. And even Blake, with a little bit short, still having to find a way to get through. And he's out in the opening, but maybe close to circle's edge, probably not even, looking for his long birdie.
Yeah, the landing zone on the drive for this hole is definitely key.
See, Curtis was too long and also not able to advance much. Tries to go up and over, but still in the rough on the right side.
Bradley just a little low, a little too turned over. I think he wanted it up high and give it a little time to glide.
And you, with pretty much the perfect second shot that you'd want, unfortunately, was your third shot. But if you're taking a screenshot of that, that would be what you'd want to have the hole look like. Great up shot for, again, unfortunately, third shot for Curtis, but that's what you're looking for. Just get it under the basket.
Great run by Blake there. He's usually good for a couple of those around. His putting has been pretty on point this year from what I've seen from him.
Yeah, we've filmed Blake a couple times. We've actually filmed Bradley as well. You are actually the only one who we haven't had on coverage previously, although I believe you have won a tournament we covered, but you just weren't on the lead card.
Yeah, I believe that was doubles with Lou.
We had you on coverage with your interview for the winners, but you weren't actually playing on coverage. So glad to have you first time, and of course in the booth.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad I could get covered.
These guys just tapping in. I believe it'll be a par for everybody. As we move over to hole 6, this is actually from the right tee pad. Players will actually be playing from the left tee pad. Front footage is a little inaccurate, but basically still the same hole, par 3. It's more of a turnover shot, and then trying to land around the basket. Pretty long par 3. You got to get the line low enough, but still have the right distance to get that full 400 feet. Probably see, like we see Curtis here, forehand and a couple of turnovers backhand.
Yeah, I feel like this one's definitely a bonus birdie. This is one that a lot of times I don't even try and attack. I try to just get around the corner, pitch up, and take my 3 and get out of this one.
Yeah, seems like kind of an in-between, par 3, par 4. But
yeah, it's definitely a very specific drive on this hole to actually get within the circle.
Yes, exactly. And see, sure, some of the players in the field got this, but definitely playing as one of the harder holes. It actually is playing as the fourth hardest hole at a quarter stroke over par. So
And
definitely,
yeah, that was a great shot there by Bradley. That's about as good as they get.
yeah, I would like to see. We don't have the stats, but I'd like to see how many of the birdies were from outside circle two, making long bids at it. And you took maybe just a little bit too high, shot down.
And yeah, that wasn't a very good upshot out of me either. I think it was the first little flick upshot I had of the day and just didn't execute.
Yeah, need to get those muscles warmed up a little bit.
Curtis from in the sticker bushes a little bit here. Tree slightly in his way.
And nails it.
Like it was nothing. That was a great putt. You can see him taking his time to get out of there from all the sticker bushes he was in. So that's a really good putt, shedding some blood for that one.
And without blinking, Curtis is 4 down through 6. So pretty good start for him. And great putt. Probably 25, almost 30 feet for you to save that par.
Yeah, with Curtis making his, I didn't want to keep losing strokes, so especially 2 in 1 hole would be tough.
Yeah, this early. It's only a 2-rounder, so you can't get too far back. Good putt by Blake as well to save his par. Bradley will go in and tap his in. So we move over to the water carry hole. Devin, you want to tell us about it?
Another par 3. It's an old, we call it the mine hole, but it's just a little pond here. Baskets through this gap and a little bit to the right. So you'll see some turnover mid-ranges and some forehands.
Yep, seems simple, but obviously anytime there's water involved, nerves can get into people's heads. But really, if you took the water out of it, the shot doesn't seem like too much of a difficult shot. As we see Curtis going pretty much exactly what you want to do and hitting the base.
Yeah, that was perfect. And yeah, the water's actually really low right now. It a lot of times it'll get up to where you can see the grass there around those trees straight out. And this is one where the you can see the basket slightly elevated because when it floods, the water comes all the way up in there. And we kept losing sleeves to soil and stuff filling it up. So we elevated it to keep that from happening.
Some idea to keep it, able to play for everybody. And we saw the backhands, and now the forehands from you and Bradley. Both work. I think you might have clipped the base as well, slowed you down just enough that you were parked. Bradley, just a bit high, yeah.
Good little finish out of Blake. Definitely want to get the birdie on this one. This is probably one of the top 5 easiest holes on the course.
Yep, as opposed to the last hole is playing a quarter stroke under par, so about a third of the field getting the birdie here. And pretty decent field, 39 players in MPO for this tournament. Not too shabby for a C tier, but this tournament does have history, as we've heard, so players definitely want to come play it. As we move over to hole 8, par 3, 102 feet. Devin, what do we got?
Pretty much another straight shot. You're trying to miss these trees on the right that we just flew past. You can miss them a little bit to the right or the left. It'll still set you up there. This is one I try to just throw into that hillside right under the basket and let it scoot up there a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the play with the big backstop. If you get anywhere near it, short of it, or anywhere up it, like I think Curtis just hit, going to be within, 10 or 15 feet uphill, but you'll have that putt.
And yeah, this is one where if you go long, you're staring off a cliff for a death putt on your putt back. So you're better off being short and putting at the basket to a little bit less of a hill.
Oh, and the last tree need to
Yeah,
get inside of.
those are the ones you got to beat. Just to either side's fine. Inside's probably the preferred route.
Oh, Bradley hitting, I think, the same one, if not the one right next to it. So you two will have probably similar long bids.
And yeah, this one's always a little scary. Rollaways are definitely prevalent on this basket.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Maybe a little half bid for Bradley, a little floaty, knowing it's not going to go too far. Oh, and catching the back of the cage. Luckily, still sitting down. That was a great bid.
Yeah, that was one of those. Once it didn't go in, I was definitely a little afraid it was going to roll away on me.
Oh, that band. You guys are all over this basket. Curtis with the best look at it. Within 20 feet.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that when that happened. He's been hitting everything the whole time, and then, yeah, seeing airball it there was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah. But that would mean that it looks like the 4 of you are all going to be getting pars on this hole. So if scores stay the same, it's all still pretty close, as we'd expect from the first card. You guys are doing pretty good. Hole 9, what do we got?
This is par 4, 538 feet. Pretty much want to just get it out into this field anywhere you can. If you're to the left down that path you saw, you're going to be really pinched off. People tend to turn it over a little too much, end up in the stuff on the right, but anything out in the open will give you a look to get up and down. There's a creek a little bit long of the basket, which is pretty dry right now, so not very concerning, but this is actually, according to par, probably one of the easier holes on the course.
And with that creek being dry, is it usually a lot closer to the basket? Because it looks like it's right on the edge of a drop down. Is there usually water right behind the basket?
It's like 50-50. It's only really, it's like a little side section of the main creek. It's only when the creek's up really high is it kind of right there and super concerning.
Okay, and certainly the summer we've been having, water is really not much of an issue on almost any hole, but especially this one. We saw it's probably 50 or 75 feet away from the basket.
Yeah, and it might only be one little pool of water. It might not even be flowing water back there at this point.
So if 4 of you do get out into the open, Blake's a little bit on the right side, luckily just out of the rough. So he has a clean swing. That should work.
And yeah, that's a great shot. Blake doesn't throw pretty much any forehands, so he definitely shaped some really nice backhand shots. It's impressive to watch.
And in contrast, Bradley throwing plenty of forehands, uses that to his advantage and gets even closer.
Curtis. See Curtis going a little long there. He's just on the next shelf down, but probably only about 20 feet. He should be fine.
And closest of them all, great upshot. I think you had the best drive, so certainly made it easy upshot for yourself.
And there's the putt we know it. He knows how to make. Little hiccup on the last one, and he bounced right back.
Looks like we're going to be getting our first star frame, and like you said, playing as one of the easier holes. Stats say it's the second easiest for the MPO field at .36 under par, but that will do it for us on the front 9. We're going to be heading over to the back 9 in our next video. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to Disc Insanity for sponsoring our drone coverage, and of course BS Upshot for running the tournament and providing our presenting sponsor coverage. So me and Devin will see you over on the back 9. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like this video, and we'll see you in the next hole.